So just get started here. Just create your thread base. Okay, just take a small piece of mono. You can go a bit stiffer than this. I generally just stick to the 10 kg Maximas, and that gives enough support. It's going to be quite a bulky fly, and you know, basically nothing here needs to be neat as long as everything's secure. Everything basically is going to be covered by the time the fly's ended and that. So basically just try and create, depending on the length of your zonker, and that you basically can keep it at that point over there, because that's going to create quite a nice little support for the zonker at the back. Or you can go shorter, it's entirely up to you. It depends on how long you're going to do the zonker. Just put it on the other side. Just wrap that in. And then just go under, just to push that up like that. And do that about 3 times. Okay. Generally at that point, so just put it just a small drop of super glue just at that point over there, just so that that actually stays, it supports it a little bit more. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, now the part that I've adapted basically created something different. Like I said, my main thing was also to, you know, try and save costs and zonkers and stuff, because you generally, what you got to do by the time you actually create the underbody is create the legs and the you know, the side flanks of the fly, and that you have to actually physically tie in zonker and wrap it around and feedback. You can go through one full length of zonker basically with the tail plus that, so that it becomes an expensive fly. So basically just that is what you're going to tie the entire fly with. Okay, so this is where the tricky part though comes in. Yeah, I just use Old Faithfuls, just normal straightforward bulldog clip. You get your proper clips and stuff that you can get, but I mean, these things work absolutely perfect. I mean, they come in so many different lengths and that. You'll also, as time goes on, you'll say, like, for example, that's a size 2. So I know whenever I do this with the size 2s and that, I know that full length is going to be more than enough to cover the actual shank of the hook. I mean, if you start going your bigger flies, you do have your bigger ones. And then you've got the very small ones. When I tie my size 12s and that, I've got very small little bulldog clips that you basically just clip it, and you get the exact amount that you need on there, because basically you're going to be spinning it and then wrapping it. So if you got too little, I mean, the fly's going to be totally out of whack. Okay, so once you have that point over there, tricky part, very, very, very sharp scissors. Can you see it there? All right, like this, it takes quite a lot of practice and stuff. I've messed this up so many times. So if you don't get it right first time, and that, you know, you'll struggle a bit with it. But basically, you just get it inside there. A lot of you, I mean, use this method when you're doing like CDC and all that. It's the exact same method. Okay, so you basically take that, just put that aside. Then you basically got your tail section. You can see I've still got a lot left here on that. That unfortunately, no, it actually won't waste. I will use it. Basically just creating the tail section now. Okay. So you basically got a hairy little tail now with a little tuft at the end. A lot of people thin that out. I don't like to thin it too much in there because it's also just a little bit more attractant in there. You can, some people cut it right off. So it's basically just like it's a leather, like exactly like a mouth's tail and stuff. But I like to leave that a little bit because it actually gets water and that dips down under the water. And when you pull it through, it just gives a little bit more action behind in that. Okay, so generally just straightforward like that. And basically just tie that in. Okay, there you can see this section over here basically just stops the Zonker or the seal spur from going any further than that. Okay, generally at this point, look, every step I like to just put a dollop of super glue in that. Okay, foam. Okay, now the part of the foam, there's a couple of steps to doing the whole foam. So you basically just take straightforward 2mm foam. You can go a little bit thicker if you want, but I tend to find the 2mm foam is perfect in that. So cutting the foam and stuff, you just get a normal straightforward sheet. Length like that is fine, just depends on the size of the hook that you're going to be using. And you basically just take it, measure it from the top of the hook to the bottom of by the point, and then that's how thick you're going to do it. So you basically just a little bit thicker than the diameter between those two sections. Okay, then where you're going to basically, okay, I'm gonna go through it and then basically backtrack to how I got to that point. Okay, at this point you basically just stop it to there because that's where I'm basically going to be tying the head in. Okay, so you get to a point about there, just run your thread up there so you've got a bit of a marker, stop at that point. Up to that point, when you do your twist with your cut fur and stuff like that, you're going to be stopping at that point. That's where you're going to be tying off your head. Everything is going to be ending off at that point over there. So this is where the foam will start now. So you basically just take it like that. Just take it to that very, very end point of the tail and then just make a mark, small mark like that. And then basically just cut a V, solid V like that. You got that? Okay, so you just cut it straight. So if you look at it like that now, it's basically at that point, and then I've cut it into a V on the mark where I made the mark in that, because that's the point where you're going to be folding forward once you've tied it in. Okay, so when you grab it, because obviously it's quite a thick piece of foam, put it on that point and bend it down like that. So you got that effect. Okay, it just makes it much easier for tying it in. And then you just go mad. Just keep bending it down over the tail like that. And then every now and again, just check yourself so that you make sure you go as far as you can. Go a little bit more. Okay. Okay. So you basically end up with that effect over there. Now, basically, as you bend forward, you're going to be creating the back section, so you're creating a butt section. If you end it off too soon, you're going to have all the thread and you're going to have actually there's going to be a dent between the tail and the foam. It's not going to look natural at all in that. Okay, so try and get it as far back as possible as you can, and then just tie everything down, and then get back to that point over there. Okay, so now you've automatically created your mark where you're going to stop. You've basically got your foam, everything. Now we're just going to basically go through the process of wrapping through this. Okay, I might not get this 100%, but yeah, just a very straightforward dubbing loop, and then move back to that point over there. So you basically got your dubbing loop, and you got your thread right to the front.
How long is the loop?
Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now when you're twisting, I'm sure a lot of you have done dubbing loops and stuff like that. Before you start twisting in it, just take your fingers like that, push it up, and just hold it there just behind, and then basically just spin, and then when you release it, just spins it all up in that. And then you can just, okay, sorted. Okay, now basically what you're trying to create with the zonkers and stuff like that, you can go slightly longer than this, because obviously because it's a thinner material in that. But the whole idea with the zonker or the underbody of the fur, or whatever the case is basically to give it some, like a bit of a natural look, and then obviously create some form of leg and stuff like that. And that's why I like to use the seal's fur, because it gets wet but it doesn't absorb the water. So it's permanently got that shape on the sides. I don't know if any of you have seen the fly, but we'll see when it's finished. With where the zonker and stuff like that, to get full effect of it with the fly, is to actually is to retrieve paws, twitch paws, because then that zonker moves on the sides as if it's like legs. With the seal's fur and stuff, why I like with the seal's fur, and I'll show you why I like to like spread it out and it's permanently stuck to the sides, is that when you pull that through the water, it creates a wake exactly like a mouse swimming. So it starts off thin and then the wake starts widening up like this. But I'll get there, I'll show you that. Okay, so then you basically start wrapping forward. This part doesn't need to be neat. You'll neaten it up right at the end. Looks atrocious, though. It's terrible. Okay. So get to that point there, and then just hold everything back. And just neaten up the front there. Okay, now basically what you do now is separate at the top there. I've seen a lot of guys just take a scissors and cut it, but the problem with taking a scissors and cutting it is that you're relying, then you basically cut half your materials away. So you're relying just on that little bit of sprigs at the bottom there to create a full underbody with legs and stuff. So it's best you basically just take your whole lot at the top and you just push it down, you separate it on the back. And you basically got that effect. Okay. Now remember your point where you stopped at. That's the same point every single time. You stop at that point over there that you created. Push this back. Bring that forward. Bring the foam forward to that point. Okay. Now, as you get to this point, this is where you're basically going to be creating the head of the fly, if you can see over there. Can you see that? Okay, so now if you look at the bottom there, you don't tie the foam in yet. If you tie the foam in yet, you're basically going to be making the head like it's going to be out of proportion in that. So you basically, from this point over here, you basically just fold it. While you're holding it, just turn, look underneath. It basically must go past the eye of the hook like that. Okay, because that's also going to create, it also depends entirely on you if you want to create more of a popping fly, or if you just want a fly that you're just going to be pulling through the water to create a wake or anything like that. I've tried the popping ones for the bass. I've tried big black and white ones, and I mean they've worked very well. Creates a lot of commotion on the surface. Okay, then It's just one to fix. Yeah, and this is why you need at least 210 cotton and stuff. You need quite heavy cotton for this, because you're going to pull quite hard. Okay, just straighten everything out. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, then just bring to the front. Okay, it's off. Okay, so that's the tying of the flower now. So that's basically what you're ending. You're going to be ending up with a very scruffy flower. Still quite a bit to do on it. Okay, so you end up at that point over there. Now, it's entirely it's your preference if you want to create ears or if you just want to cut it as a straight flap. I mean, that makes absolutely no difference unless the fish is like sticking its head out the water. But I mean, that makes no difference. I think it just looks nice with ears. I mean, it looks nice for me. Just cuts it off. Go a little bit longer. That point there. Basically, just cut like that. Cut like that. And you cut a slit and it automatically splits out. Okay, now with your leftover piece, that's why I say your measurements, if you're going to be tying a lot or whatever, pre-cut that length is fantastic. So you take your little piece like this, you just spread the bottom of the fur, push it backwards, and then just take your foam at the bottom here, just measure more or less and use your nail. So you're basically going to go from the bend to where the cotton stops over there. So from that point to that point you measure your foam. Just take it, cut it, and then do top a teardrop little shape like that.
A bit lower up, I'll see.
You got it?
Yeah.
So basically if you look at that, from that point to that point, you're basically going to spread out all the fur and stuff that you've wrapped, and then you're going to basically take this, I'll show you now, and then that's going to be stuck as the stomach. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you basically get that effect at the bottom. It's basically a belly section. What I've seen with some of the guys as well, they actually put it's almost like a different colored belly. They put like a yellow or a chartreuse or something like that as an additional for bass, and that's extra attractant. I've actually adapted this and tied some frog patterns exactly the same as that. All I've gone and done is put double zonker as feet and then just tied a knot right here at the end. And I mean, it's exactly, and you also got quite a lot of hits on that as well. Okay, so that's basically it. And then just a little bit of super glue here with the thread underneath the head, and the flower won't rotate. The foam won't rotate at all on it, and that's it.
Very good.
Chop chop. Quick.
Alright, cool. Thank you.